Hello and welcome to STRT Over Coffee. My name is Shakayla Smith and I'm a product marketing analyst here at STRT. STRT Over Coffee is all about having conversations with creators in the Salt Lake City area. For our first episode, we'll be interviewing Aaron Hsu, who is the CEO and co-founder of Blerp. Blerp is the audio expression platform for you to find, create, and share sound bites. Aaron started creating Blurp during college with his passion in computer science, and in this episode, we'll be discussing how audio is changing expression. Kicking off the first episode, we have special guest Vic Gill, who is the CEO and co-founder of STRT. Hi, Aaron. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. How are you, Shay?
Good. I'm super good. I'm really excited to talk about Blurp today and kind of how audio expression is changing the future. And so, yeah, let's talk about Blurp. How did it start? Kind of give us a little summary of Blurp.
So Blurp is an audio expression tool for you to enhance any moment. We plug in places like voice chats, live streams, messaging, and it began as a college project. We were just a couple of friends going to the University of Utah and studying computer science. Something that was really exciting for us during the time was this idea of audio expression, this idea that everything around us was changing and audio was going to be how we communicate with our technology in the future. And we saw that through AirPods, we saw it through voice assistants, we saw it through more and more people creating podcasts and consuming music. And from there, we thought, okay, how do we take the best parts of all this content and let people really express themselves and plug in places where people can? And yeah, that's really how it started began. And some people are always like, man, like you need to know what you're doing, but we really didn't at the beginning. That was part of what was fun about Blurp, I think, was it was a constant discovery of not only ourselves, but just the whole platform and how cool it was.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like I've conversated with so many entrepreneurs that have just been like, yeah, I started and had no idea what I was doing, where I was going. And I think it's important not to let that hold you back from what you want to do, especially if it's something you're really passionate about and that you could see changing the market.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like this idea that letting those questions like happen it's actually a good thing because you're constantly thinking through them. But it's what you said, you don't let it stop you. You let that excitement, that curiosity feel the next step forward, right? And no, it's cool to hear you say that.
For sure. No, I think it's important to do that. And since you're our first episode on here, I just want to talk a little bit about how we could potentially use audio expression for podcasts in the future, or is it something that you use only in the gaming industry or online live streaming? Like, what do you see audio change? How do you see audio changing? Like, it's kind of ironic. We're doing a podcast.
Oh yeah, no, it is funny, right? But
Yeah.
So Blurp's niche right now, we are growing through gaming, and it's for the idea that we're building the platform through the most highly engaged people.
Yeah.
And it's cool because we're seeing these live content creators, pulling this content in real time and coming back and creating their own sound content, helping us grow the platform even more and sharing it with their viewers. And the exciting thing about that is we see it plugging into so many places once people can find their content. We can plug it into what you said, podcasts in the future, in messaging and all these other places. So we totally see that use case, and podcast creators are a big part of the creators we want to help bring that voice, that expression to.
Well, how has audio evolved since you started? I know it's going to evolve dramatically in like the near future, but how has it evolved since you started Blurb?
The biggest thing I thought was interesting was, 4 years ago, AirPods were just coming out and a lot of people thought they were just weird and funny. And the biggest habit I've seen is more and more people are getting them and more people are staying connected in that way. I think the virtual culture in just the past 3 months has completely, changed how we experience sound, as in literally like it wasn't that comfortable, maybe even 6 months ago to just have sound all the time. But now that you're just like at your house, people are just constantly listening to it. It's just such a convenient way to, consume content. So I've seen it just change in how much more convenient and prevalent it is in our lives.
Awesome. So in the early stages of Blurb, And I know we're just talking about just increased demand online of online live streaming and audio expression, potentially using it on like a podcast. What are you seeing the demand just in gaming, but what other industries have you seen it in?
Yeah, so we've seen it in communication, in messaging. I think TikTok's a powerful market indicator of sound expression. Actually, TikTok's the thing I get really excited about, how these sound bites that people create in, the US are being shared, in Japan. And it's the same exact sound, and it's that idea that sound is so universal that it can, one day connect us, and explosion means the same thing across the world. And yeah, I think those markets where people are creating social content, trying to connect with the people around them through creating that content is the biggest places we've seen audio expression. Really.
Totally. What do you think's so attractive about these short sound bites? Because yeah, like TikTok, it is exciting to see this trend keep going. What do you think's so attractive about it?
I think like we can really point to how music has always been something we all connect with, and how a piece of a song that we don't see anything of it, but we can just listen and really feel something from that piece of music. I think that's a powerful indicator of what sound really represents in our lives and how it can really change how we feel. But yeah, I think that's what makes it powerful, is that we don't have to see what that soundbite is to understand what emotions come out of it. And that's the power. And what I see with sound bites is that quickness of being able to share it, consume it, and then change how we feel.
Awesome. Well, as you're evolving, I see that you have done your first round of funding, which is super exciting. And that's a great sign of kind of your industry growing. What are the things you found and learned in your first round of funding as like an entrepreneur?
Oh man, learned so much. First thing is funding is a couple year process if it's your first business. And it's there's no overnight successes. It's something you're constantly working at, you're building, and you're nourishing those connections. I think connections are very important in funding. And then just like market timing, really understanding what you're working on and being able to show that story of why you really believe in what you're doing and why the timing's right. I think I learned a lot about that storytelling aspect of really helping people see what's already there, not really trying to sell people what you think is right, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think sharing your story and dialing that pitch is really important, but showing that you believe in it and showing others to believe in it as well is key. And what are some other things that Blurp has evolved over the last couple months in 2020? How has that been for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, besides just moving out of the engineering lab in the basement for the first time,
Exciting.
Our website's been seeing a lot of new launches. We're launching, TikTok creation, where people will be able to quickly create blurbs from TikToks in the next little bit, which we're really excited about. We're seeing a lot of the sounds being created from YouTube, and we see TikTok as a powerful source of really good content that people can really pull from. And our goal with that is really to help people take the same content they really enjoy, but enhance all these other places like live streams and voice chats and messaging. And yeah, I think it's really exciting as we really prove out this use case, or continue to prove it out in live streams. And we're taking that same experience, which in Twitch, we're seeing a lot of traction. We're taking it to YouTube Live and Facebook Gaming as well.
Oh, wow. Super cool. When do you plan on getting involved with TikTok and YouTube Live and all of those platforms? Is it kind of like a slow process? Is it something you're just thinking about right now?
Yeah, so people will be able to create blurbs from TikToks within actually a couple of weeks. We're launching that beta hopefully on Monday. And then the YouTube Live integration for YouTube creators and Facebook gaming creators, we're launching that near Thanksgiving.
Wow, that is super soon. So how will users be able to use it on TikTok? I'm kind of familiar with TikTok, but how would that work?
So there's the side of it that we want people to be able to share the sound content on TikTok, but
Okay.
there's also the idea that we want people to pull out their favorite content from TikTok and use it in these other places. And that's how it would really work is people would take a TikTok link and be able to just feed it to Blurp and then instantly have the sound content show up in all these platforms we're integrated in where they can share, that funny thing that just surfaced on TikTok. And that's the main experience we see that working with TikTok in the future or in the near future.
Super cool. Super cool. So with YouTube Live, how would that work then?
Yeah,
Something
so
similar?
yeah, pretty similar. The cool thing about YouTube Live is it's an open book right now, as in Twitch really thrives off of the interaction. And that's really what we believe is going to happen over the internet as more content is being created on the internet. We're not just going to be watching our content, we're going to be experiencing it, we're going to be interacting with it. And by tapping into YouTube Live creators will be able to get their viewers to pick whatever blurb they want. And essentially, their viewers can play that clap or interact with the stream, and everyone will be able to hear it and bring in that new interaction. And yeah, we just get excited with this whole trend because we see it with even, Netflix Hangouts. It's huge to watch with your friends. And that's just where content is going. And we want Blurp to be that tool that enables any creator to have that voice through these sound bites.
Super cool. So are you honing in on that niche of just audio sound bites, or are you looking to expand with different types of features instead of just platforms? Is there anything new or that you see with audio expression changing that potentially you guys could tap into?
Yeah, so our goals are to dominate live streaming in the next 6 to 12 months, and we'll focus there pretty well. And then from there, we want to really prove out this use case of letting people really trigger these sound bites within, voice chats, video calls like Zoom, and these other internet-based real-time places. And yeah, from there we see this plug into everywhere else, but that's sort of the game plan is we're going to build it off live streaming, build it off these creators. We have a lot of huge creators using us that a lot of people would really pay for the marketing and the interaction, but they're using us for free because they really see the power of sound bites and how much our app really helps them make better content. And we get really excited about continuing that.
That's really cool. Is there do you see yourselves going into video and audio or just audio?
Yeah, so I think at the core, we see ourselves as an expression company in the sense that anything that helps people better connect, better convey what they're feeling is a product that we really care about. We see audio today as the most powerful way to quickly enhance a moment. And we see a lot of competitors not really able to focus on that use case because they haven't focused on what audio can really bring to that moment. And that's really where our core focus will probably be in for the next couple of years based on where we're seeing the market, how distribution works, and really how does that content enhance the moment and let you still be the main character of whatever you're trying to share, but really enhance what's already there. And yeah, so from a company strategy point, I know that's a little bit vague, but we do see us focusing on that in the near future, but that doesn't mean we won't ever do anything else.
Okay, super cool. As a co-founder, and seeing those trends and evaluating them, what do you see for audio in the near future as it's just not I know that you spoke a little bit about potentially going into video as well, but what do you see for audio in the near future and the trending there? What's the trends there?
Yeah, I think one of the trends I get really excited about is this greater importance of sonic branding. This idea that some of those powerful brands on this planet have a sound expression tied to their brand to really solidify and help people really remember who they are. And I think there's going to be a growing trend and need for people to build this digital identity with that sonic branding. And we actually see Blurp as a very powerful way for people to showcase that sound of branding, to really build their audio-based image on the internet. And yeah, that's a big trend we're excited about to like tap into as we help people distribute their sound content.
Super cool.
Hey, Aaron, also, this is Vic. What's up, man?
Nick.
Glad to connect, and always wonderful to chat with you. I think Shay's really on some kind of with, what are the trends, and what do you see, like sonic branding and all these things moving forward. A question that I've always been wanting to ask you, and I think this is a great form to ask it, is, I think about social media and what the promise of it was, right? Like, it was being more connected. It was finding groups of people that you could interact with and get to know. But simultaneously, right, like, we're seeing people with fewer close personal friends and close connections and meaningful relationships. I think like you're really seeing that under a magnifying glass with COVID. Folks that really should have been able to use all of these digital resources to maintain good, healthy social interaction aren't. And the need for like in-person interaction seems to still be there. But I wonder with, products like Twitch and the new wave of social, how do you see that? Because I know sound is, I know from a business standpoint, you guys are all about expression and like the goodness of being able to connect. And sound ends up being a really important part of that. But I wonder, like, even more broadly in the social landscape, how do you think digital social platforms are going to change, and how gaming might be involved? And, I'm just curious, that's a big question to ask, but what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think a big thing is just what we touched on before. I see way more content moving online, and it's going to continue to do that. And the trend is we aren't just going to be watching that content. We're going to be interacting with it. We're going to be viewing it with our friends, and there's going to be more ways to stay connected online through those increased interactions. And we see the more ways we can add greater expression to these channels, the greater we can really connect with them. And the powerful thing about sound, I don't know if this is a big tangent from what you're asking, but I guess like diving into the core of one of the moments that first started Blurp was really building an app of just, Shia LaBeouf and seeing how shareable those audio clips were. And not only showing like this experience to a lot of people and seeing how it was the first time we were pressing this button and like taking a step back from our screens and able to experience the content together. That's a big core of what makes Blurp work, is creating those types of moments that really help us, step back and connect with each other and, consume content together. And yeah, it's a big thing we're trying to recreate, which we get really excited about because we've seen trends with like social media sometimes making people feel distant. And because of that, we've been really excited about what Blurp can really do for people in the social space.
And what's interesting about it is, like, I look at Twitch and Discord, and it feels like it's not as murky as maybe Facebook has become. Where like, and this is maybe my own editorial here, but Facebook just seems like people screaming at each other, right? Like, it's not so much about connecting; it's about, hey, this is my story, and I want everyone else to hear it. And then once they've heard it, I want to only really interact with the people that agree with me. Whereas like Twitch and Discord don't feel like that at all. And I wonder if it's because there's a newness to them and that hasn't happened yet, or if they're like fundamentally different in terms of how people express themselves and talk to each other. When from a marketing and branding standpoint, we look at Facebook and Instagram as awesome ways to tell our company's story, because it seems like that's what they were built to do, is like get up there and we have a platform we can tell our story. I think we're still trying to figure out Twitch and Discord out a little bit, but I'm curious, like, do you see differences in how people consume and use those? And do you think that maybe there's going to be like a new generation of social media that gets away from people just telling their own story and getting as many people to connect and like it as possible versus like, you know, the thing I love about what you guys are doing is it's all about having a laugh or a moment or an emotion or a feeling simultaneously with others without like screaming in their face about what your opinion is. It's just like, yo, this is funny, let's laugh about it. So I wonder, like, do you think social media is going to change over the next 10 years, 20 years in a way that you see coming? Or is it kind of like, yeah, of course it's going to change, but it's unpredictable?
I definitely think some aspects aren't super predictable, but I think you've nailed a lot of what makes Facebook and the generation that grew up with Facebook really tired of it, is that idea that we don't really feel connected. We come on and we don't build those connections or have really meaningful conversations because it's based on what people agree with. I think you're spot on with these things like Twitch and Discord being more valuable in the long term because people are actually building these communities. They're becoming, they're building real relationships from them. And we're seeing that. And it's a big trend that if you just stay on these platforms like Facebook, you won't really see. And I do think there will be a more powerful push for private conversations, private social media, as well as this public facing social media that we still have. But that's not to say, I don't think it's going to disappear. That's just my personal opinion. But I think people are still always going to value that part of us. There's something about us being human. Some people like being able to just even flex, like being able to create their brands and stay connected like that. I think that's always going to be around. But I do see a greater push for that real-time entertainment of what you were saying.
Oh, dude, I think that's spot on too. And I think you guys are going to end up being a big part of it because, being able to, it's funny, right? Like you always hear this term, a picture paints 1,000 words, but it's like, so does a soundbite, and maybe even more than 1,000 words. Like it really conveys a whole depth of emotion and experience that, like we could get into. So the one last question before I kick it back to Shay is like, would Blurp ever like what about like smell-o-vision, like Willy Wonka style, where like would you guys ever expand out into other, we have five senses, other perceptory experiences? Like, do you guys joke around about that, think about that, or is it really just sound focused? Do you think that there may be a play to do things that as technology evolves to allow there to be smell bites and feel bites or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's super funny. I think Shay actually touched on that a little bit with her first question. I think it would be along the lines of the same answer. We're focused on sound today, but deep in our core, we're an expression company, and whatever is the best tool to help enhance that moment and add that expression and let people connect during that time is what we were really focused on. And yeah, we joke around about, like, we get really excited about putting Blurp in VR because, one day maybe we're going to all be there, doing our shopping and just needing that extra little tap. Or maybe it's what you said, we'll be smelling things through our screens or something like that, how I see is that's why Blurp's so fun to work on, is that the problem is always there and there's always going to be new products to build to solve it.
That's so funny. I literally was going to say something about VR. I was going to ask you about VR. What do you see with VR that would differentiate you guys using audio?
Yeah, I think where Blurp has shined is all these places where images and even video aren't really shareable. Mm-hmm. And we can point to voice chats or even Twitch, where Giphy even has an extension there, but we're 10 times more popular than them on store. And we see VR as the same thing, where you don't really share or like put up images, but sound's one of those things that helps immerse into that experience. And we see, Blurp as a huge way to enhance those moments in VR.
Do you see that Giphy and Blurb could come together? Because I could see that.
I could see that, yeah. Like I could see people being able to create the perfect moment expression by combining both. And part of it is just Blurp does that on its own, because Blurp doesn't really need Giphy to create a new moment from a video call because the GIF is you, you know, the GIF is what we're experiencing around. I always tell people Blurp is like a video editor for your life. As in with a video editor, you drag in these sound bites to scenes that are already there to create a whole new experience. And that's what we're trying to do with sound bites.
Super cool. What do you see with VR with Blurb?
Yeah, I see. One day we're probably going to be hanging out in VR and someone's going to say something and they're instantly not just going to be able to search it, but they're going to be able to think it and instantly it'll be able to play, you know? And it's just, yeah, bringing in, helping people really hit those moments that they really are trying to hit at the right moments in VR is how we see it.
Yeah, with VR being so, how close in the future do you think that is?
I think we're farther off. The biggest trends I see that are happening is self-driving cars. If our legal system's going to let that happen, I could see that completely changing a lot of how we experience life. I think for VR to have that same effect, it's going to be for at least 4 years out, but we'll see. The world moves fast.
And maybe just to follow up on that question, like, what are the sickest technologies? So you mentioned like connected autonomous vehicles. Like, what are the sickest, sexiest technologies that you're into right now, or that you're seeing are coming around the corner that are really going to affect people's lives?
I'm excited about voice technology, to be honest. And just the idea that I'll be able to sit in the back of a Tesla and be able to not have to drive where I want. And the whole idea of being able to just send a message to people without even picking up my phone is something that I'm really excited about because, yeah, screens were just the first way for us to interact with our technology. But if you're like juggling all this around, if you're trying to, you know, get from one place to another, it's really annoying to interact with. But I think that's why we listen to podcasts, you know, on the road, is because we can have that extra level of convenience while doing everything we are already doing throughout the day.
No, I totally agree with that. But as of right now, like I totally agree. But as of right now, do you think like IG like live streaming is a spot too that you guys could potentially go into?
For sure. If you're talking about just today, it's
Yeah.
digital online entertainment, anything where creators are trying to better interact with their audience in real time is going to be our focus. I think IG Live is a huge place where Blurb could add extra value today.
Yeah. I mean, I know it doesn't touch on the convenience you were talking about of like voice being a tool to open your phone or to text somebody. But as of right now, I think IG Live and live streaming is kind of your niche. Is that right?
For sure. Yeah, we like IG Live, and even TikTok Live is interesting.
Oh, interesting. So I haven't seen TikTok Live. Could you tell me like how people interact on there? Is it similar to IG Live?
It's super similar to IG Live or even Twitch just chatting, where people are just, you know, coming on and connecting with people in real time and just having those conversations. But yeah, TikTok creators that have reached the threshold can live stream on TikTok to their followers.
And since Blerp since you guys started, what other ways have you seen audio evolve other than live streaming?
What else? I've seen more and more people creating podcasts. I feel like everyone and their mom have a podcast now, but I think just the idea of music has been, you know, we saw platforms like Napster and Grooveshark, you know, start come out, but people to really solve the licensing issue and really distribute music has been really interesting. I think Spotify has done a pretty good job so far in doing that and putting, you know, a lot of content in our hands, you know. I think that's a huge trend that we've seen. There's
so many platforms for audio, like Spotify, like you said, and SoundCloud, and there's just an overwhelming amount of social media platforms. Do you see Blurp creating their own? Like, is that something you've thought about?
I think we'll have an app to make it easier for people to create and share their personal content one day, but our distribution model of really plugging into places where users already are is, I think, a really powerful play of what we want to really focus on. But yeah, I think anything that helps us really help people connect through audio expression is not out of the door. So I always hate saying like, is this something we will or wouldn't do? You know, today, like maybe not, but tomorrow it could be something that could be really valuable for us.
For sure.
I wonder about 5G too. Like, so there's going to be this probably like explosion in, well, a massive reduction in data latency and the ability to get more content to the end user's device faster. And breaking down those barriers is going to have a meaningful impact. But I wonder in like the world of sound bites, right? Like, how does increased fidelity and data transmission affect you guys? Is 5G like matter to what you guys are doing, or like how do you see it fitting in with your guys' plans?
I think anything that gets more people involved in digital communication just increases our market, increases our reach. And I think 5G being able to reach places where technology isn't quite reaching right now is just huge for us long term and just building the entire market. I think some things I already get excited about sound is how easy it is to transmit and bring into these places and bring into these moments. There's a lot of audio companies out there, and I don't actually have really good statistics on this, but the idea that audio is just so much more monetizable than video because of how much less storage it costs, how much easier it is to transfer, and how much less like bandwidth it takes up has always been a big thing for audio. So anything that decreases that even more is great.
Interesting. So do you think audio will be the new video? Do you think it'll take over video by chance, or do you think they'll still like be two separate niches?
Video will always have its place,
Yeah.
and then audio will have its own in the places when we need it. I think the reasons why audio will play a bigger role in our lives is just how convenient it is and how powerful it is to enhance what's already there. But as for video, I think we'll always be consuming it. We'll always be sharing images too, and audio will just be an add layer of what we're already doing.
With the storage that you spoke about, how many sound bites do you have? And how, like, I guess give me the size versus how many clips, I guess, storage.
We have about 100 gigs. So
Okay.
It's actually not a big database, to be honest. And part of what we're realizing what makes Blurp work is the focus on quality over quantity, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to figure out how to grow it in the most strategic way possible, because we believe that's what's going to make Blurp successful.
Oh, super cool. How many clips do you have total in your database right now?
I want to say, we tell people 500,000.
Is it?
Yeah, about there.
Wow, that is a lot.
Do you have a favorite right now? Like you mentioned the Shia LaBeouf one, which is like iconic, right? Like as soon as you say it, and it was actually interesting. Like I read or I saw something about how it was like actually done with an art institute, and it was like this performance art. And it was very purposeful. It wasn't like just some random crazy shit that he was doing. But do you have a favorite right now? Like, do you have a favorite soundbite that you're just using a ton?
My favorite always changes. Recently, it's been a funny line that my co-founder says, where he's like, "Gotcha," and that, I mean, it's hard to bring up like stuff where your friends say, because it's the funny thing about sound is that you're building these jokes within your communities, and sometimes it's only relevant within what you're talking about. I'm trying to think what else is fun. I like the soundbite of the kid who's like babbling. Have you heard that? Where he's like talking about how he has a dream. I think it's cute. Some people think it.
Well, I wonder. Here, let's. If we make you a presenter, you could probably share your audio with us.
Oh, that's funny. This is when we need the Zoom integration, to be honest. He always asks me on the spot, and I'm like, Oh, here he is.
You want?
Wait, not that
Have
one.
you ever had a dream that you had you could you do you want you could.
I don't know if you remember that kid.
Yeah, that is dope. Well, it's funny, right? Because like all popular culture like has these iconic moments, and it seems like for a long time, most of those moments were either from like broadcast television, movies, and maybe like a little bit of radio. But now, like you get all this content coming in from social media, from streaming services, from arts, entertainment, and like a soundbite like that wouldn't have never even existed now breaks through the noise and everybody knows what it is. I think that's badass. Has there been any like user created sound bites on Blurp that have just blown up that you were really surprised at, that like within the platform that were created on the platform were just like wildly popular?
There's been a lot of clips that gets popular within their communities. Like we even have a clip of a streamer the other day where he says something really funny and his viewers like played it, 100 times on stream. And it's like his catchphrase now, and we've seen that definitely happen a lot. As for iconic clips yet, I think we're waiting to like really surface more of that as we release these tools that lets people create more and really create those brand identities for themselves. But yeah, that's what we've seen.
What's the most popular one used currently?
It's right now it's a game sound from, do you know Roblox?
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a oof sound and also it's like oof. People like sharing it. It's I think it's a Gen Z thing because they say tons of random terms now that I don't even get anymore, like mood and yeah.
How just this may be completely random off topic, but like I'm going through my own mental inventory of like sound clips that I think are hilarious, and probably a third to 2/3 of them have an expletive somewhere in the soundbite, right? And just like from popular culture movies I've seen, right? Like when you were saying gotcha, there was a word after that I had like already appended in my own mind. But I would like is how much of that is a part of the community? How do you guys just kind of handle what content's being put out there? It seems like sound bites are probably hard to be terrible, but like what do you guys think about moderation and controlling content?
Yes, we had a huge conversation, especially at the very beginning, of like, what kind of expression do we really represent? And our focus is on fun expression, positive expression. So that's generally the content we promote on the platform, and we have content guidelines to support that. We actually released moderation and reporting a few weeks ago, letting people really help guide the type of content they want to personally see. And as a platform standpoint, we try and follow our guidelines to help really curate and showcase what we think we should show. But it's a mix of that, using our reporting features and letting people really control the content is another thing. So these creators that are using using Blerp to enhance their streams, we give them the tools to say, hey, we want G-rated content, we want PG-rated content. So really catering to what they like and what the audience is for them.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And also, it's always a tough thing to kind of get involved in because it's like, like these boundaries are so blurry based on the context that something was said in, who said it, why they said it. But I think I love the approach of saying like, look, man, at the end of the day, we're trying to promote things that are positive and good. And it's crazy because as much as you can get lost in the weeds on how would you program that in, because like I remember reading this or listening to this Freakonomics podcast on or maybe it was Radio Lab on Facebook moderation and like how they were building this set of rules. It seems like most of that feels like just common sense. Like this is clearly not appropriate. This is clearly, in good humor. So, I think that's an interesting part of being any content company nowadays is, how do you deal with, people that come in and try to abuse a platform or hijack it for purposes that are different than what it's intended. And, one thing I think Blurp does really, really well is you guys put out what you want. Like this is what we're about. This is what we care about. This is who we are. And because of that, I think a lot of the content you probably attract is in line with it. And can you talk to me a little bit about that? I'm curious, like, how do you create like that kind of community? And then I know we're running short on time here, so I'll kick back Shay, but I'm just curious, like, what are your tips or thoughts about creating community and how you do that?
Yeah, I think it's really what you said. It ties deep down to the brand. From the beginning, we saw sound content was always there, but no one's really created this fun, positive brand around sound content that can, let anyone use it. And I think that's something from core we've always tried to focus on. And part of it is, really writing down your values, showing them, and then, showing content based on what those values are, at least for us. For any other group, it could be just by the actions you take, by how you design the platform. And yeah, we've definitely seen that though with the content that people create on Blurb. We see a lot of fun, positive content. Of course, you'll get like other content that might not be with the brand, but if we're constantly showcasing the things that really represent who we are and rewarding that, then we've just seen it really drive that community forward. And then I think being just like constantly in touch with your community has been huge with us. We're trying to get these email campaigns out, really helping people see the story of Blurb, seeing why we represent what we want, and then helping people really experience that positive expression. So having that constant communication and PR outlet has been huge for us too in building that community.
That's super awesome. And Aaron, thanks for getting on the podcast with us for Start Over Coffee. We really appreciate you talking about Blurp and taking the time today. And super interesting stuff that you guys are doing. Super excited to be a part of the journey. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. I'm super excited. You guys have been with us since the beginning, so it's always fun.
You rock, Aaron. Freaking love you guys and love Blurp. And now every time I see you in my own mind, hip hop air horn just goes off as my automatic soundbite that I think of when I think of Aaron. So you guys rock. We love you guys and wish you the best. And it has been great to be with you guys kind of as we've been growing. Seeing you guys just kill it is dope and an inspiration for us as well.
Yeah. If you would like to learn more about Blurp, visit blerp.com. If you'd like to learn more about START, visit STRT.com.